It is time for your WIN podcast for super busy professionals sharing transformational moments. Your host, Chu Tang.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Your Win podcast. Today, I have my very special guest, Andreea Parc. Welcome, Andreea.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a great opportunity to be here, and I want to take this opportunity to thank you um, for having this podcast and allowing people like me to tell our stories with the hope that your listeners who go through the same similar experience or tough times feel that they're not alone.
Yeah.
We're here. We went through, in my experience, through very difficult times, but I went on the other side, and I feel that I'm blessed. And let me tell you my story. The transformational moment that truly changed my life happened a few years ago when I was a practicing attorney in New York State. I was trapped in my negative thoughts, beliefs, unfulfilled expectations, and led to a lot of feeling of disappointment. I felt empty, lost, stressed, overwhelmed, and all those fears were taking over my soul and my body. Until one day when universe conspired and everything that could go wrong actually went wrong. Not only that I lost the criminal trial that I so thought and hoped I would win, but because I have dual citizenship, Romanian and American, the judge thought that I would be a flight risk and revoked my bail. So here I was in the custody of the Federal Marshals. And Federal Marshals and custody turns out to be at MCC, Metropolitan Correctional Center, which actually was the place where El Chopo was being held and where Jeffery Epstein passed away the following year.
Right.
And it was surreal. I was an attorney by day and inmate by night. Literally, my universe collapsed, my world collapsed, and I didn't know what to make of it. It was like a horror movie. With heavy chains, shackles, handcuffs, I was taken through the dungeon that connects the court to MCC. I was changed out of my clothing into some sort of cover-ups, used, huge, smelly, used underwear, plastic shoes. And I was taken by the officer through a hallway with three metal doors that unlocking one, you would have to lock the other one behind. So basically, there were three sections of the hallway. So when we got to the female section, he unlocked the first door on the left and tried to push me in the cell. But the woman from the inside started yelling, cursing, and pulling on the door so the officer couldn't open. He started yelling and cursing and banging his boots on the door, and I literally didn't know what to think. I was eventually let into the cell, and I stood speechless in a corner, holding on to my bedroll, waiting, which was the only thing that I had, waiting for this girl to calm down. And I was thinking if I would survive with this girl until the morning in that small cell. Everything was gray. It was an 8 by 10 dark. It was one metal bunk, two plastic chairs, one metal um, one metal locker, one small table that was stuck to the wall, and a small sink. This was the entire cell. Eventually, this girl stopped and looked at me, and like nothing happened, she calmly asked me if I speak English. And it turns out that her rage was about something that happened earlier and had nothing to do with me. And she looked at me, and probably I looked so overwhelmed, so lost, so raw, that she thought she would help me by talking to me. So she started talking. She was telling me about people, about inmates, about guards, about schedules, about how to use the phone. She was there in MCC for the past 8 years. I'm sorry, 8 months. 8 months, and she was working in the commissary. She gave me actually everything that I needed because I only had that horrible uniform. So she opened her locker and she gave me new pair of underwear, socks, sweatshirt, sweatpants, food, and funny enough, a plastic fork and a plastic spoon. Why is it important and funny to say? Because in federal prison, an inmate gets the uniform and 3 unrecognizable meals a day, but everything else the inmate has to purchase from the commissary.
Really?
And at that time, yes, and that time, the plastic forks were out of the commissary. So for a few months, that plastic fork was my prized possession, which I broke trying to mash a potato, but and then I had to eat with the spoon. But that was one of the fun facts, if I could say that, in prison. And literally until that moment, I thought that that day was the worst day of my life. But with that kindness of that stranger, my mind changed. I felt we were sisters in suffering. She was 28 years old, also from New York, like me. She was white. She had white skin with long hair. And she was very, although she had that rage at the beginning, she was very kind and nice. And she continued to tell me that her entire life she was addicted to pills and drugs. And that in the past 2 years, close to 30 of her friends died of overdoses.
Oh my God.
Including her best friend. And for me, as I was like a fresh wound, raw and vulnerable. But at that moment, I thought that my daughter at that moment was 15, and my heart broke in million pieces because I was thinking of those young people, of their sufferings, and of the parents losing their children. And I've never done drugs, and I never had anybody. I didn't know anybody doing drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Although I had my other shares of addictions, such as money, fame, recognition,
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff. But the stories that this girl was telling me were out of this world. And at that moment, I felt that the time stopped, the
Mm.
world stopped, everything stopped. And I was fully present for the first time in my life. I was present.
Mm.
I've heard before this concept of the power of now,
Mm-hmm.
but I've never understood it until that moment
Mm.
when I was totally at peace.
Oh.
Why? Because I realized that I have nothing to complain about. Yes, I lost everything that I've worked for my entire life. I lost my license and whatever else. But I've had the most precious thing, life itself.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter was fine and my loved ones we're all alive.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my wake up call as to the blessings that I had.
Mm.
And that was the moment when I realized why the universe conspired for me to be there
Mm.
with that girl, for me to shake me out of my nonsense stories
Mm.
and bring me in the present moment where literally I realized that if I was able to drive my life into a ditch,
Mm.
I was also able to put it back on the road,
Mm-hmm.
on the right path,
Mm-hmm.
and hold the hand of people that are still in the mud,
Oh.
or pull them out,
Mm.
because we're not alone.
Yeah.
As this girl showed up there as my guardian angel in
Mm.
that windowless cell
Mm.
in a metal bunk,
Mm.
um, I was I realized that I was in complete charge of my life.
Mm. Mm.
I was responsible for my life, how what choices I'm making.
Mm.
Because everything that happened was because I made the wrong choices unconsciously. But now that I realize I have the choice to make conscious decisions
Mm.
of where to take my life from now on, and also help other people.
Wow.
And because once I took responsibility for my life and the mess that I left behind,
Mm-hmm.
I was, and I had nothing. And from that nothing, nothingness, and nothing, I
Mm.
was able to create everything else.
Oh.
And today I'm a coach, and I'm helping people,
Mm-hmm.
attorneys, and high achieving professionals, because I know where I was. And I want them to understand that they're not alone.
Right. Right.
By opening and telling my story, the vulnerable story, um, I want people to know that change is possible.
Mm.
Change is healing. Once we take the decision to change, then that's when the healing starts.
Change is healing. Mm.
And that's my transformational story.
Wow. So how long were you there?
In MCC, I was 8 months,
Wow,
and
long.
then I was transferred to the camp at Danbury, Connecticut,
Mm.
and I was there for 2 years. So altogether incarcerated for almost 3 years.
Oh my God. And do you remember the day that you were set free? That moment?
Of course, the moment that I was, it's very interesting that I came to the US 25 years ago on August 5th,
Oh, okay.
and I was released from prison on August 5th.
Wow.
And I took that as my new beginning,
Wow.
a new life, my rebirth, I would say.
Wow. You know, I came to US, I think around August 5th. Yeah. It's either August 5th or August 7th, but I'm gonna look it up.
Yes, it was August 5th, 1998.
998. Oh, wow. Wow, what a coincidence. Wow.
There are no coincidences, just the universe conspiring for us to be together and care and love and make this world a better place.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing this story. And you know,
Thank you.
you brought the give me a sense of the reality, because I haven't met anyone who was in the prison, so I could only imagine through watching movies, right? Yeah, but this is a lot worse than what I thought. Yeah, yeah,
But I mean, some people are telling me you're crazy to think that what happened to you going to prison and losing everything, it's a good thing. But if prison took, it's what took me to change,
yeah, yeah,
it's the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
yeah, yeah.
Because otherwise, I would not have changed. And
Right.
I would have stayed in that miserable state of stress and blaming everybody and
Yeah,
for my misfortunes, which clearly was me not seeing.
yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, for my life, on a very small scale compared to yours, I got laid off, and I was very unhappy before, but I had no courage to leave the job, and I got laid off, and then I said, wow, this is blessing in disguise.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
now I'm living a totally different life.
True. I mean, it needs it need because we don't have the courage, as you said, to change. It takes a heart attack, a losing job, going to prison, a couple overdoses, God knows,
Yeah, yeah.
to 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 be kicked off the cliff and
Oh, yeah.
change, take life for live life with the purpose that we were born to
Oh,
live.
wow. I'm very, very proud and very happy that you are now also helping other people. Yeah, you have such a big heart.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I mean, it's a great platform to help people and to tell our stories for others to hear.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, listeners. And if you enjoyed this episode, come back. And until then, stay happy and hopeful. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share. See you soon at Your Win Podcast.